Hello, everyone. Thank you for sharing some of your time with me today. I do appreciate it. Friendly reminder to hit those like buttons, share buttons, subscribe buttons, notification button. You know the deal, right? Y'all know the deal. And before I get in trouble with some of my listeners, the books are available at authorjerrymitchell.com, or you can go to givegod90.com and follow the links from there. Got those advertisements out of the way fast today, didn't I? I really enjoy getting questions from listeners and other people too, but really from listeners. And apparently a newer listener made me realize there's something I haven't explained for a while, and I probably should revisit this. They asked me why I say that the language, the culture, and the history are so vitally or critically important to understanding the Bible. And I really hope you are ready for this answer. In Genesis chapter 1, and hopefully you all know how Genesis chapter 1 opens, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." God saw the light was good. He separated light from the darkness. Okay. In verse 3, God said, that's language. That is absolutely language. He chose to speak and say something that gets creation started. It gets us going. Now, he gives mankind the use of language that he doesn't give to any other living creature on earth. We can teach some animals to listen to us, right? Our dog Susie, she knows come, she knows various commands, but we can't hold a conversation, right? People, they have cats, their cats will do things, they have other animals, they do things. You can teach birds some words, and we can teach sign language to some apes, but they can't communicate with us the same way that humans or mankind communicates with each other. It just doesn't work that way. They don't even communicate with their own kind the way that humans will, right? I've never seen two animals, sitting or standing to watch a sunrise and giving any notion that their thought is, this is going to be a beautiful sunrise today. And I've watched a lot of animals over the years. I've never watched any animals that seem to contemplate really anything other than, does this food taste good? You might feed a pet or an animal, and they take a bite and they look at you kind of funny, like, are you sure you wanted to give me this? But that's about as far as this notion goes, right? They don't communicate outside of their kind, typically. Zebras will run away from lions, right? Cats will run away from mice. Mice will run away from cats. I got that one backwards somehow. But mankind, being made in the image of our Creator, has the ability to communicate in a way that no other living being on earth has. We can communicate our thoughts and our ideas that show appreciation for creation. We communicate thoughts and ideas that grow into concepts, and then they farther grow into physically manufactured things like computers or phones that you're watching or listening to me right now. Birds, on the other hand, they don't need a blueprint to build a nest. That information was given to them while they were still in the egg. It was given to them by our Creator. Cattle don't need to be taught how to eat grass. That was given to them by their Creator. Fish don't need to learn how to swim. That's information that's given to them by their Creator. Bees don't need to learn how to make honeycomb or pollinate flowers. That information's already there, given to them by our Creator. But language and the way we use it, that's given to us by our Creator at creation. So, yes, language is absolutely important. We learn how to communicate. And so when our communicator selected Abram and said, come out of the land of your father to a place I will show you, Abraham was able to understand it, and he chose to obey. And that actually leads me to culture. By showing Abram the things that our Creator revealed to him through Abram's obedience, Abram became Abraham. Him learning to live and do the things that our Creator asked him to, that is the beginning of a culture. Later, through Moses, we learned the other things that we needed to develop an entire culture, a culture that displays respect for our Creator and for each other. Right? That's the Creator's design for culture. Caring for the poor, caring for those who don't have as much as we do, using the skills and the talents that our Creator gives to us to benefit the people around us. That is the culture that our Creator designed for us and wanted us to learn, wanted us to develop. The Bible became the owner's manual for our lives. It comes directly to us from the manufacturer. It shows us how to live the way we are designed to live. So yes, culture is absolutely important in understanding the way that we were supposed to live. And it also helps us understand the way that that culture has been corrupted, right? But through the use of language, okay, that's why it's so important, we can learn from our past mistakes or from the mistakes of others in the past. And that brings me to history. See, the language teaches us how to understand the culture. Understanding the culture and the mistakes that our ancestors have made is history. The Bible is a narrative of the real history of the earth we live on, the universe we live in. From the way it was created, right? Genesis chapter 1, to the trials and tribulations of all the people written about, right up until today. Now, I often hear people say, oh, I wish I could go back in time and live in those biblical times. Wouldn't it be so wonderful? I don't think so. I don't think so. It was tough living back then. I'm not sure anybody alive today could survive. You know, everybody talks about the good old days, but nobody wants to use the outhouse, right? History contains the lessons of how we get to where we are, how we achieve the things that we achieved, both good and bad. And we are living right now in those biblical times. Think about that. We are living right now in those biblical times. Some people say we're in the end days. Maybe, could be. Not going there in this lesson. History contains the lessons of our past, and biblical history contains something very, very special. It contains what we call prophecy. Now, sometimes the Bible gives us a glimpse of a prophetic word that, okay, this is going to be confusing at first. Just a warning. I'm going to try and explain this. The Bible gives us a glimpse of a prophetic word that was a future event or future prophecy for the ones hearing it for the first time. But now here today, for us, that's biblical history. Many of those events have already taken place. Those things have already happened. For the people hearing it for the first time, it could have been a future event. But some of those events that have already happened for us are now history. I hope I explained that well enough for you to grasp that concept. What once was a future event of prophecy for us is history because those events have already occurred. And we can either learn from that history and we can change how we live and respond to similar events appropriately, or we can repeat the mistakes that were made by our ancestors who chose unwisely. Okay? And so by digging through the language, we learn to understand what's being said. By learning about the culture, we learn how people were designed to live, and whether or not they're living according to the culture that our Creator envisioned, or if they had actually corrupted that culture. By learning and understanding the history, we have the lessons of our past, and we can either do better or repeat the same mistakes all over again. So language, culture, and history all do come directly from the Bible, from the first words of Genesis through the instructions we receive to teach us how to live the way we're designed to live, and including learning from our ancestors about their successes and about our failures. Language, culture, and history are critically important. And if we will study the Bible and we learn how to put these things together and see what the language said, how the people were living, and what they did, learn from their outcome, learn from their successes, learn from their failures. Quite often, the outcome's already been written down in some way, somewhere. Pretty much, Solomon says nothing new under the sun. So pretty much anything we might feel a need to learn, I guess that's a good word I'm going to use here. We can go back and we can see, is there a similar situation somewhere? Is there something similar we can learn from? Is there something we can draw from? Is there something that has already been recorded that we need to know and understand? And the only real way to understand that is through the use of language, by reading it, understanding the words that were first recorded and how they were recorded, their context, how it was said, not always in our modern English translations. Sometimes you have to go back and understand how the people would hear it for the first time, and how they would understand it for the first time because of their culture. And then we can look at the history. What did they do? How did this happen? What was the outcome? Hopefully we can learn from that because it's already been recorded. Something to think about until next time. And until next time, I do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.